My guest today is my good friend Nicole. She was here to visit with her son, and we sat down live here in my little office studio to record a live conversation of the Multipod. Nicole is someone with a lifetime of variety, of curiosity. She's done all kinds of interesting jobs. She's traveled and worked around the world, speaks multiple languages, and for years I've thought, she's a classic multipotentialite. She might not know it, but she really fits that bill. So when she came to visit, I realized, hey, this is a chance to not just talk about and have a conversation about the topic and multipotentiality, but why not record it? And then, of course, share it with all of you. So I'm sure that you'll see a lot of yourself in her story and the choices she makes and the journey of her life. And what's interesting, too, is, again, exploring that concept of multipotentiality basically live in real time here, because she wasn't really all that familiar with it. It goes back to our last episode there with Patty and Steve, how, yes, absolutely, they could see themselves in the concept as well, but never really explored it. So coming in here on the Multipod was a chance to do that, to really understand, explore, to ask questions, and to figure out for themselves what this concept means to them. Same thing here with Nicole. It was really fun to have that chance to do so. So I hope you enjoy this episode. It's a fun conversation, a little bit different. You'll see the camera here changes, and we kind of rigged up the little studio here, pulled in a chair, sat down with our little microphones, and had a fun conversation. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Multipod. This is something different. I'm recording live here in my home office, my home studio. Some of you will definitely recognize the background here, but we've shifted the cameras around a bit and give you a little different view. And I'm joined by my friend Nicole.
Hi, Ted. Hi, everybody.
Nicole and I have known each other, well, at least for, 17 years, 18 years, something like that. And she's here to visit, basically, for the weekend. And so, it got me thinking, well, she's had a fascinating life, and all kinds of different jobs, different careers, you might say. And so I thought it'd be really neat. I'm kind of curious. I think most of this, but I'd love to kind of refresh my memory of all the fascinating things that you've done and share with our multipotentialite audience. And as we go through this, I'm pretty sure you'll kind of see recognize some signs or hints, of what is multipotentiality, right, in your story, because this ties in with a bit of our series that we're doing lately. Our last episode with Steve and Patty was similar to this in the sense of exploring multipotentiality to people who may not have really thought about it or explored it or know much about it. But once you see, and we kind of frame it that way, then you see yourself in that term, right, in that life. So that's what's fascinating, to see all this kind of unfold in real time. It's what we're doing now. It's what we did in our last episode too with our guests there. So yeah, that kind of sets the stage of what we'll chat about here for 25, 30 minutes, whatever. So tell us where you're from. Where did you grow up?
So I was born in Nova Scotia, and then we moved to Alberta when I was a little kid, and I lived in Alberta till I was 10. We went back to Nova Scotia for grade 6, and then when I finished grade 12, I came to Ontario for university.
Okay.
And
what did you study in university?
I did international development and Spanish, and I started in the concurrent education program to be a teacher.
Right.
It was a special program that you did it all at the same time. But then I decided not to finish that because I wanted to follow the international development project.
Okay. So when you first went to university, we'll kind of explore this a little more, but I want to set a little bit of the context. So when you first decided to go to university, did you have a clear idea of what you wanted to do?
Yes.
You did?
Yes. I wanted to be a teacher for the deaf.
Oh, okay.
I was going to be a teacher. I was going to be a teacher for the deaf. I was going to do my Con Ed degree in 5 years. I was going to do a master's in deaf education at the University of Alberta in 2 years. And I was going to get back to Nova Scotia in time to teach the kids that I babysat when they were in high school. That was the original plan.
Interesting. Okay. So then obviously, you get to university and there's all kinds of inspiration and people you meet and things you start to learn, and that starts to change, your focus and what you want to do.
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah. It did for a while. And I wanted to be able to travel overseas. So I wanted to be able to do a year abroad, and that kind of messed up with the Con Ed program. And then I decided that I really wanted to go to Africa, which took a while. But then, so I stopped teaching, or I stopped the teaching degree at that point.
Oh, I see. Okay. So what did you do once you finished university?
I taught English in Japan for a couple of years, tried to pay off some of my student loans, and then I came back and I did a postgraduate degree in international project management.
Okay.
And then from there, I worked overseas for a few years in international development and humanitarian aid.
Wow.
And then I went back to school. Well, no. Then I worked in advocacy work for a while and politics.
Yeah.
And then I went back to school and finished the teaching degree that I had started.
Okay.
About 20 years earlier.
Sure.
Yeah. Or
and
15
that was
years earlier.
Yeah. And that was roughly, 12 or something years ago now?
Yeah, about that.
Mm-hmm. And now you're a teacher, primary school teacher. Right?
Yeah. So now I teach kindergarten.
Yeah. Cool. Do you feel kind of then driven or guided to do any one thing or be any one thing over all that time? Or what prompted a lot of those decisions to change and try different things?
A lot of it, I think, was about stuff that I learned when I was a little kid. I had a lot of goals. I remember the famine in Ethiopia and Live Aid, and I wanted to work overseas. I wanted to go to Africa. I worked with migrant workers for a while in Canada. So then I learned a lot of Spanish, and I was able to work in Central America. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just kind of take things as they go hum. And I remember one time in a job interview where somebody asked me, and they said, well, it seems like you've really taken on a lot of opportunities and stuff. And I said, I don't know. Like, I think stuff just falls in my lap and I do it.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I love that. I think a lot of multipotentialites live through, inspiration and spontaneity. Do you feel you're a spontaneous person?
Most of the time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So underneath it all, like, did you feel driven to, explore different things? A lot of us, it's that sense, well, you got one life to live, and there's so many things you want to do and try. Did you ever feel like kind of the clock was ticking in a way, like I only have so much time to try this or do that, and then before you do something else?
I don't know if I felt that kind of pressure. I mean, except when I was in my early 30s, and I was like, if I don't have a kid now, I might have a problem. But I think I do feel a little bit. I've lived in Ottawa now since 2009. And that's the longest I've lived out anywhere, maybe ever. And I've probably lived in 6 or 7 different houses in that time. But I do miss traveling internationally, and I miss the new experiences that I could gain that way. Mm-hmm. I think the whole label of like, oh, so what are you going to do with this degree? Where are you going to go? So what are you doing now? And when I was hopping around a lot on 6-month contracts and 12-month contracts and 4-month contracts, I got really good at job interviews for a while because the contract would end and I'd have to find the next thing. But I felt, the pressure was external, not internal. And it only came to me at a point where there was a point, I guess in my early 30s, when I was tired of not knowing what was next.
Oh, that's
I like not knowing what was next. I like something landing in my, oh, hey, there's refugees being flown in from Kosovo, and here's a refugee camp you can work in on your days off from your Tim Hortons job. And here's a camp you can work in, and you can go teach English or whatever you can do there. And I like that those things would always happen and could be spontaneous, and that I had the freedom to do that. But there was a point where I thought, okay, I can't keep going back to my parents' couch every 6 weeks or every 6 months or every year. And I felt like I didn't have a place and a consistency. And when I moved to Ottawa, I had sort of hoped that I would find that. But then I continued to work in advocacy and NGO work. And In a political perspective, it was the Harper times, and NGOs were losing all their funding, and to not know, to never know if you were going to have how you were going to pay the rent. I was quite happy to bring in a roommate from Korea for a while, or a roommate from Toronto or Spain or wherever else however I paid my rent back then. But eventually I thought I needed something that was going to be more consistent and stable. And so I guess that's when I decided to go back to teaching.
Right.
And I love working with kids. I have always loved working with kids. I started working with kids when I was 11. So I worked with kids always. And even most of my jobs overseas involved some aspect of either working with kids or teaching or facilitating in different contexts, training, offering training, that sort of thing. So I guess when I went back to teachers college, and then I was really fortunate because I got a job right away. Because some people don't. And I don't know how that would have turned out. If I'd had to be a supply teacher for years, maybe it would have turned out really differently. Because chances are something else would have come along that piqued my interest.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So like a lot of it, I think, comes down to the circumstances and, the opportunities that come about, or maybe they wouldn't come about, but that's what determines the choices, I guess, and the commitments that we make as a result. I mean, which might be a little different from like setting out to try a whole bunch of different things. Did you feel the drive to do that, to try all these different things? Or was it like, imagine this, if you had found a job or a career, if we want, back straight out of university, do you think you could have done the same thing for 20 plus years?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, even in teaching, I make sure that I either move schools after a few years, or I move positions after a few years. I taught one grade for 5 or 6 years, and then I moved, and I'm teaching a different grade now.
Right.
Now this grade, I teach kindergarten now, and I think I'll stay there for a long time because every day is new.
Yeah.
Every day in a kindergarten classroom is new. And each kid is learning something different, and each kid is growing in the area that they need to grow. And I learn so much from them. I don't know if kids understand how much their teachers learn from them, but I learn way more from my students than they'll ever learn from me. And I only hope that I can learn enough from them to continue to be a better teacher and keep them learning too.
Yeah, interesting.
So yeah, I think kindergarten will last more than 5 years.
Sure. But then, as you say, there's a lot of variety in that, in the job in general, but I guess that particular age level.
Yeah.
Do you find then, that's a good question. Is there a lot of variety in the sense that day to day is really different? Is that more evident with the really young kids, kindergarten, maybe grade 1? Because have you taught grade 5 or something? Or
Yeah.
So I taught.
I love teaching grade 5. The difference in some aspects is in where I'm able to go with the curriculum.
Okay.
Because the kindergarten curriculum is inquiry based. Last year, a student said, "Miss Parker, how do beehives stick to trees?" And I said, "I don't know." And so we studied bees for a few weeks.
Okay.
And we learned all sorts of neat things about bees. Whereas if a student in grade 5 had said that, I probably would have the answer would have said, "Well, why don't you go research it and you can report back to the class about it?"
Okay.
So there's a difference in how you're treating the questions and what you get to learn out of that.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So that's another feature, multipotentialites, right? We really crave variety. And often that's, and typically in pretty substantial ways, it's not just like having something different for breakfast. It's like we need different kinds of jobs, or within our jobs, we need each day to be different. So do you feel, the converse might be that people would feel overwhelmed by that thought. They want consistency, familiarity. How would you approach that then if something is too repetitive and kind of familiar? Does that get boring?
Yes. I would move. Okay. whether it means I move now as a teacher, whether it moves I mean grade, or I move schools, or I move cities, or I move houses, or I would move. Like I would get too bored and I would move.
Okay.
And the choices I've made over the course of my life and the jobs I've had have always allowed for something like that. And I think about the opposite of this is, I have a colleague who worked at the same school for 19 years.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine being anywhere for 19 years. And even the fact that I've lived in Ontario for as long as I have of my life, even that seems, when I started to count up the years, I'm like, I've been here a while. And I couldn't imagine that. I might stay at my school for 19 years, but if I do, I'll be moving in grade. Well, I've already changed grades within that environment.
All right. Well, and what about other hobbies and interests, passions? Do you have a lot, I guess? And do you find the time? I know we're all busy parents and stuff, but like, are you able to pursue those other passions? And does that change over time?
Sort of. I think it's important maybe to mention that I have ADHD. Because that's true. I think plays a piece in this, because when something is in front of me and I'm focused on it and I'm paying attention to it, I might forget the other stuff that's on the side. So even though I have lots and lots of other interests, I don't necessarily delve into them very much because those, they're not right in front of me right at the time. And if it's report card writing season, I have to write report cards. I don't have time to do anything else. Right. And I mean, my family steps in and helps me with my child. And when that part of the time is too busy. And so then when that's done, and now we are enjoying this part of life, or now we're enjoying that part of life. So I think I have a lot of, I think the expression is like irons in the fire.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't think any of them are ever going to like come out and actually turn into a horseshoe or something. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to actually finish any of them. I think there was probably a point in my life when I thought that I would, or when I felt a bit like a failure because I didn't finish them. Like at one point I had done a lot of work that would eventually work towards a master's degree. And I wasn't working on a master's at the time, but now I have this bin of stuff. And realistically, I'm never going to go back to do a master's, at least on that subject. So if I'm not going to, then maybe I need to stop paying to store this stuff.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Like I have a storage unit that I pay for that has stuff in it from all these different walks of life. Like I kept all the stuff from when I worked with MSF, and I kept all the stuff from when I worked with this organization or that place. And even if my kid grows up and I retire and somehow I can go back to work with MSF again, which I would love to do, even if I could do that, the stuff that I have is out of date. So I probably should not be paying to store it. But there is
nice thought to keep those options open, even if tangibly it changes. But to think that we could go back to those kinds of jobs, or we could go back to travel. Yeah. Or maybe like in my wife and I's case, I mean, we're here in this house now, and that's fine. Our kids need a home, and it's fine. But it would be nice to live in some kind of simple, tiny home, or in a camper van or whatever, right?
Yes.
I don't know if it'll happen, but I love it's important to me, to us, to know that could happen. Yeah. Keep that dream alive,
Yeah. Yeah, that maybe I could. I miss international travel. I miss the excitement of landing in a place and not knowing the language, not knowing what's going to happen. And and my child needs more stability than that. Yeah. So when we go on vacation, it's calmer than it would have been. And usually I have booked a hotel ahead of time, which I didn't used to do. I used to get off a bus and look around and figure out where I was going to go. Nice. And I can't do that right now. Yeah. At this stage in life.
That's right. Seasons of life.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So we did a couple episodes very recently here exploring this concept of completion and how multipotentialites approach that. And we don't have, I mean, just to say that you and everybody watching, listening, right, is, if you haven't, go back and check out that episode, because we really tried our best to tackle that, in the sense that, where does the notion of completion even come from? Is that an outside external pressure? You go to university, you're expected to complete the degree. If you don't, are you some kind of failure, or you gave up or quitter, which all of this is ridiculous, because the real answer, I think, for us is that, well, you take whatever you need from it, right? And, if we can kind of come to terms with that, and be at peace with however we define completion, it's a different mentality for us, because there's other things we want to do. And maybe, we got enough out of it, essentially, that we need to, which may have been finishing the degree, but maybe, you did a fraction of it. So, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I finished the degree because that was the expectation, for sure. I think
Me too, actually.
Yeah. I think I mean, I was a good student. I always knew I would go to university. I always figured I'd get at least one degree.
Yeah.
But I remember that last couple weeks when I had one paper left, and that paper was not getting done. And if I didn't get that paper in, I wasn't going to graduate. I think, completion. I kind of have trouble with the idea of completion.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anything is ever complete. I mean, sure, you can wash all the dishes and have a clean counter, and the dishes are done for 5 minutes. but the idea that I'm always learning, and I should be always learning. And sometimes I get frustrated, I guess, when I'm around people who don't seem to be always learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think, but you've done this way for how long? And now we know better. So if we know better, we need to do better.
Yeah.
And if we know more, we need to know more. And I heard this expression the other day, upgrade my thinking. And it was just something that it was in a podcast I was listening to. And I think she said it off the cuff, like, I've kind of upgraded my thinking on this. And I thought that is really how I live. I live in a way that if I'm learning new information, it's coming in, then I should be changing the way I move forward and keep learning.
Yeah, that's great. Again, that's multipotentialites are insatiably curious people.
Yes, definitely.
It helps me do this show, because I'm always curious about what the guests are. I generally know them. I've met them at least a little bit online, usually, of course. But, I genuinely want to know the story of your life, the things you're interested in, and what you're doing, and all kinds of other questions come out of that. Yeah.
I think too, and maybe your audience should know that I didn't know anything about multipotentialites until I looked it up last night.
Good.
And I read, and, I put the word in, and it came up with a Google generated an answer from Emily's book.
Right.
And I went, oh yeah, that's me. Yep. Okay. I guess this fits, because every single one of those categories fits. And the interesting thing for me when I was reading it is instantly I was thinking about people in my life, whether it tends to be people from work who don't fit into one of those categories. I'm like, oh yeah, I do that. Oh, you know who doesn't? So-and-so. Oh, this person doesn't do that. And then I kind of didn't know that people didn't do that. Like what, and you used the word curiosity earlier, and sometimes curiosity is confused with being nosy.
Oh.
And so I've always had to be, even from very young, I've been really conscious about, does my question sound nosy, or does my question sound curious? Because I am an incredibly curious person. And sometimes I think I offend people because they think I'm being nosy at them. I'm not. I'm not trying to get to the deepest, darkest secrets of your life. I'm just curious as to how you ended up in this situation now.
Yeah.
And I am interested in your past, but maybe I'm hitting nerves that I don't mean to. And so,
yeah, it depends on the context, I suppose. But no, I think we come at it from a good place, that, we're just genuinely curious, and maybe we want to help, or we want to understand people better. which I guess you could say is something that we need in the world these days, right? It's people
Yeah.
communicating and just trying to understand each other better. We would be doing a lot better if we all did that.
Yes.
That's a whole other topic, but
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Well, I want to wrap up when, on this show, we like to do a call to action now. We really try to give our listeners and viewers an action step to take and a way to get involved. And hopefully that engages with the guest, or at least something that the guest is interested in. And as multipotentialite, of course, we've got lots of interest in things. Now, one thing that you and I have chatted a bit over time is this concept of decluttering, which I know speaks to a lot of people for sure. Again, our listeners and viewers. And an interesting way then to connect and follow up would be, this comes back if you're a Facebook user, and some people are and some people aren't. There may be you'll bring it up with this podcast and other things too, but there's a Facebook group. What's the name of it?
So it's called Kindred Spirits, but it's through A Slob Comes Clean is what the website is called.
Okay.
And I know it's she at the beginning when she started, she needed a name, and Dana K. White, she's from Texas, and she does a lot of work on decluttering, and she has a group through Patreon that has a Facebook group that is you have to know about it. You have to learn about it through the back ways. You can't just find it on Facebook. You have to find
it's a private group,
and it's a private group. Yeah,
you have to pay to be in it.
Yeah, but it's not that much.
Okay,
so there's a monthly price or an annual price, and for me it's been worth it because what I get out of it is I hear other people who have similar stories to me.
Yeah.
So sometimes I can just listen to what they're going through. Every so often I go on and post myself. When I first joined the group, I used to post a lot more. But now I listen to her podcasts, or they have work along times where, I'm working with people from all over the world.
Like co-working.
We are all working on a decluttering project at the same time and across the world. Yeah. And that's really neat. And so different people do it different ways. When I do it, I set up my computer and I'm running all over my house, but there's my computer and I'm in and out of the screen. Okay. But I can hear all the other people talking and talking about what they're doing. And that's really, really been helpful for me because it gives me time to focus. And also when somebody says, I have this thing and it means so much to me and I just don't know what to do with it. And this is why. And we can talk about it. And then we all go back to Dana's decluttering rules, and then that person makes a decision based on that. So that's been really helpful. And I'm part of a few other groups like that are not, they're not that costly, but I hear and learn, and sometimes I interact, but right now it's just helpful for me to hear and know that other people are like me.
Yeah, that's just it. Comes back to our, broader community, party versus best example, but just knowing that other people are out there with multipotentialite angle and all that, and identity, it's made such a difference to so many people. I'm sure it's been thousands over the last 10 plus years, right? And just to know that, you're not alone, and there's other people that get it. This whole thing, we were chatting about the Everything Conference, because my name tag's around here somewhere. And I was telling a bit about that, and we had the conference last year in Minneapolis, and that was where we got to see each other in person. But this kind of the predominant theme of that weekend was just showing up, and you don't have to explain it to people because they already know, they just get it.
Yeah.
Which is such a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
And we're not getting those questions, well, why are you always changing jobs, and why don't you stick to the one thing, and what are you doing now? I can't keep up with what you're doing. Well, it's none of your business because it's my life and this is how I want to live it.
Yeah. I think I was probably lucky to not have so much outside pressure.
Yeah, that's good.
I think when I was making some really crucial choices, like what university to go to and stuff, my parents had people they could reach out to and ask questions. And I think that because I know my mom will say she always got unexpected answers. Okay. She always got the answer was go where the program is, not for the scholarship and stuff like this. And because she was getting those unexpected answers, from, PhD scientists and stuff, then I think that has been, that changed, maybe helped change expectations, like the external expectations that were put on me.
Right.
I do wonder sometimes if I'd had more, like, I wonder, when I was 10, 11 years old, I wanted to be I wanted to work for the National Park Service and be a guide out in the forest, because that's what we did in the summer, and that's what I wanted to do. For a long time, I wanted to be a diplomat. For a lot, like lots of different jobs came about that I wanted to do. And wow, I just realized that I'm kind of doing them all now.
Cool.
Like, I take my students to the forest regularly and I'm doing that piece. I'm doing all this diplomatic stuff with parents.
Yeah, I think of that.
And there's probably some other pieces in there that I did not think about. We get to do the agriculture piece because we can grow stuff in our classroom.
Yeah. You bring languages into your classroom for sure. Right?
For sure. Yeah, we do a lot. It's an English and French classroom, and then we do all sorts of things where we learn different songs, and
there you go.
That's kind of neat. Well, there you go. Maybe we should all just be kindergarten teachers.
Interesting. Well, that's a nice way to wrap things up here.
Sweet. I just thought of that.
Yeah, we'll ponder that as we carry on with our day. Thanks very much for coming on the Multipod.
Well, thanks for asking me to do this, Ted. Yeah. It was fun.
This is all very spontaneous. Last night I was like, we should do this before she goes home.
Yeah. So thank you. And then I Googled what is what's the word?
Multipotentialite.
Yes. Then I Googled it and kind of went, oh yeah, I see why he's asking me this.
Yeah. It all makes sense now.
All right. Thanks, Ted.
Thanks. So, as you know, here on the Multipod, we do our best to connect our listeners to our guests, and not just, of course, in a direct way, but often that comes back to ideas and kind of projects or groups, opportunities, that might come about. So whether or not you reach out to Nicole specifically, which, of course, you're welcome to do so, but you might be intrigued by that decluttering group that she mentioned. And so we'll have the links, of course, in the notes here. I encourage you to check that out if it's something that speaks to you. Meanwhile, my thanks again to Nicole for coming on the podcast. It was a fairly spontaneous thing, as I like to do here on the Multipod. I love the notion that the podcast can generally be open and kind of flexible enough that, hey, if I have a space, if I have an opening, whether it's for a different kind of topic or certainly for a guest, then yeah, absolutely, we can slot you in. So I really like being able to do that, having the flexibility, and that was largely the case here. We kind of thought about the night before and said, well, hey, before you go back home, why don't we sit down and record something? So I'm really glad that we did. Now, I'm always on the lookout, of course, for other guests. If you get an email from me one day in your inbox or a direct message, it'll probably be something related to the Multipod and inviting you on the show. Feel free to reach out. Remember, you can go to themultipod.com. You'll find the links there. There's a guest form you can fill out with some ideas and suggestions. There's a little spreadsheet list of discussion topics. And if nothing there comes to mind or piques your interest, you can absolutely add something. It may kind of inspire some other ideas too. So yeah, just as always, the Multipod's always been a community-based show, and I really try to keep it that way as much as possible. So in the sense that as much as I will reach out and ask people if they want to come on, you can absolutely initiate it yourself. Don't hesitate at all to reach out, share what you're working on, and most of all, share how you would like to connect with some other people. Again, it could be related to a business, maybe a recent project, a new hobby, something you've just discovered, maybe something that's been a lifelong interest, but you want to connect with other people to have conversations about that, share ideas and see where inspiration takes you. It's really what this podcast here is for. As much as we love, of course, to explore multipotentiality, I really love connecting people together. So keep that in mind, visit the website, and I look forward to hearing from you. We'll be back again soon with our next episode.